My name is Elvis, but most people call me Grandpa Duke, named after my grandson, funny enough. The kid loved the name so much when he was born, I just became it. I'm 69 years old, and I thought I'd heard everything a man could hear in a lifetime. I was wrong. It was late afternoon. The house was quiet, just me and Duke at the kitchen table, the smell of old coffee in the air, Christmas lights still hanging even though no one bothered to turn them on anymore. Then he looked at me and asked, not loudly, not nervously, just matter of fact, "Grandpa, will this still be your house after Christmas?" I laughed, because that's what you do when a question doesn't make sense yet. But he didn't laugh back. He just stared at his homework, like he'd already said too much. That's when I knew something had been said in this family, something I wasn't supposed to hear, something already decided. From that moment on, every smile felt rehearsed, every visit felt timed, every "don't worry about it" felt like a warning. That night, I stopped sleeping, because when a child asks a question like that, it means adults have been talking, and when adults stop talking to you, it's never by accident. The house felt different after that, like I was a guest in my own home. I started paying attention, really paying attention, to things I'd been too trusting to notice before. My daughter Janet came by the next morning with coffee and pastries. She does that every Sunday. It's supposed to be sweet, mother-daughter time, except I'm the daughter in this scenario, I guess. "Morning, Dad," she said, kissing my cheek. Too quickly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Her husband, Chris, was with her. He's always with her lately. He settled into my couch like he owned it, scrolling his phone while Janet fussed in the kitchen. "You sleep okay?" she asked, not looking at me. "Fine," I lied. "You sure? You look tired. Are you taking your vitamins? Your pills?" There it was again. That question. She'd been asking variations of it for months now. Always in front of other people. Always just loud enough. "I'm fine, Janet. It's just, you forgot where you parked last week at the grocery store, remember?" I stared at her. "I parked in the same spot I always do, Section C, near the cart return." "Right, but you walked to Section A first. Chris saw you." Chris glanced up, nodded once, then went back to his phone. I hadn't walked to Section A. I'd gone straight to my car, but they were telling a different story now. Building something. Brick by brick. "Maybe you're right," I said softly. Testing. Janet's shoulders relaxed. "It's okay, Dad. It happens. You're getting older. We just want to make sure you're safe." Safe. That word landed like a stone in my chest. After they left, I sat in my office, the small room at the back of the house where I keep my files, my books, the things that matter. I wasn't looking for anything. Not at first. But then I saw it. A folder, pale blue, tucked behind some of Janet's old photo albums she'd asked to store here temporarily 6 months ago. Albums I didn't remember her ever coming back for. The tab read, "Dad's Estate, Roland Consultation." Roland, my brother. My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside were property assessments, market valuations, my house appraised at $1.2 million. When did that happen? This was a modest family home when I bought it 30 years ago. But the neighborhood changed. Gentrified. Suddenly, I was sitting on a gold mine I never asked for. There were emails, too, printed out, between Janet, Chris, my brother Roland, and someone named Juliet Carmichael, an estate attorney. One email, dated 3 weeks ago, from Chris. "Roland thinks we should move forward before he changes the will again. At his age, and with his history of confusion, we have options. Juliet says cognitive decline is easy to document with the right testimonies." I read it twice, 3 times. History of confusion. Cognitive decline. Easy to document. The room tilted. I sat down hard in my chair, the folder open in my lap like evidence at a crime scene. They weren't just talking about my future, They were planning it. And the worst part, the part that made my throat close up, was a handwritten note paper-clipped to the front. Janet's handwriting. I'd know it anywhere. Dad won't go into a home willingly. This is the kindest way. He'll understand eventually. Kindest way. I closed the folder carefully, placed it back exactly where I found it. Then I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared out the window at the yard I've mowed for 30 years. My daughter, my only child, the girl I raised alone after her mother walked out, was trying to have me declared incompetent so she could take my house, and my brother was helping her do it. That night, I didn't sleep at all, but by morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I didn't confront them. That's what they'd expect. An emotional old man, ranting about betrayal, easy to dismiss as confused or paranoid. More evidence for their case. No, I became a ghost in my own life. Quiet, observant, smiling, and all the while I was watching, recording, learning. Sunday dinner the following week. Janet brought a casserole. Chris brought wine. They sat at my table like they always do, talking about Duke's school, the weather, nothing important. But I was listening differently now. "How've you been feeling, Dad?" Janet asked, cutting her chicken with surgical precision. "Good. Healthy." "That's great. You remember to take your blood pressure medication?" "Every morning." "You sure? Because last time I checked your pill organizer, Tuesday was still full." I hadn't touched my pill organizer in weeks. I keep my medications in the bottle. Always have. "Maybe I forgot to fill it," I said. Her face brightened, just a flicker. Then concern smoothed it over again. "See, that's what worries me. You're forgetting little things." Chris nodded, chewing slowly. "It's natural, Elvis. My dad went through the same thing. You just need some support." Support? There was that word again. It sounded so kind, so reasonable. It was a trap. The next day, I went to see Dr. Patel, my physician for 12 years, a woman who'd guided me through cancer, through recovery, through the hardest years of my life. "Elvis," she said warmly, shaking my hand, "what brings you in today? Everything okay?" "I need you to test me," I said. "Cognitively, memory, everything." She frowned. "Are you experiencing symptoms?" "No, but I need documentation that I'm not." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, let's do a full workup." 2 hours later, I walked out with a clean bill of health, perfect cognitive function, sharp memory, no signs of decline. I made 2 more appointments with different doctors, got the same results. Then I went to see an attorney. His name was Marcus Webb, mid-50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. He listened to my story without interrupting, fingers steepled under his chin. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Do you have proof?" I pulled out my phone, hit play. Janet's voice filled the office. "Easier if we just get the conservatorship in place now. Marcus, he's not going to fight us. He trusts me." My attorney, this Marcus, my Marcus, raised an eyebrow. "You've been recording them." "For 2 weeks, every conversation." "Is this legal in your state?" "One-party consent." I checked. He smiled, actually smiled. "Mr. Elvis, I'm going to enjoy this." Over the next 10 days, I learned things I wish I didn't know. I learned that Roland owed me $50,000 from a loan 12 years ago. Money I'd written off, never expected back. Money he now wanted to recoup by splitting the sale of my house with Janet. 50-50. I learned that Juliet Carmichael, the estate attorney, wasn't just any attorney. She was Roland's wife. They'd gotten married quietly 6 months ago. No one told me. Conflict of interest didn't even begin to cover it. I learned that my best friend Jesse, the man I'd known for 40 years, who'd been best man at my wedding, who I trusted with my life, was supposed to witness my signing of the power of attorney papers. He was in on it too. One night I was asleep upstairs while Janet and Chris talked in my kitchen. I had my phone recording in my shirt pocket. "Christmas," Chris said. "We do it at the Christmas party. Dad signs the papers, Jesse witnesses, and it's done. Once we have a power of attorney, the conservatorship is just paperwork." "What if he resists?" "He won't. Roland's already set it up. We just need him to sign." Janet's voice dropped. "What about Duke? He's been asking questions." "Duke's 7. He'll forget." "I don't know, Chris. This feels—" "Janet." His voice turned hard. "We're 3 months behind on our mortgage. This house is worth over $1 million. Your dad is 69 years old. He's had a good life. We're not stealing. We're securing the future." Silence. Then Janet quietly. "Okay." I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. My daughter, my brother, my best friend. A conspiracy built on love that had rotted into greed. But here's the thing they didn't know. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a man with evidence, a plan, and 3 weeks until Christmas. And I was going to destroy every single one of them. Not with violence, not with cruelty, with the truth. Are you hooked yet? Because what I'm about to do at that Christmas party will flip this entire story upside down. But here's the thing. I need to know you're invested. I need to know this story matters to you. Smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the notification bell. Because next chapter is where the trap snaps shut. And if you're not here for it, you'll miss the most satisfying takedown you've ever witnessed in your life. Drop a comment. What would you do if your own family tried to steal everything from you? Would you forgive them? Destroy them? Or something in between? The next chapter drops when we hit 10,000 likes. Let's make this the most powerful story this channel has ever told. Don't miss what happens next. Your subscription might just save you from making the same mistake I almost did. Christmas Eve arrived like a storm I'd been watching on the horizon for weeks. My house was decorated beautifully. Janet had insisted on doing it herself. Garlands on the staircase, lights wrapped around every window, a tree in the living room so perfect it looked staged. Now I understood why. She wanted everything to look warm, festive, safe, the kind of place where an old man would sign his life away surrounded by family and Christmas cheer. They started arriving at 6. Janet and Chris came first, arms full of dishes and wine. Duke ran straight to me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Grandpa Duke, Merry Christmas." I held him tight. Probably too tight. "Merry Christmas, buddy." Roland showed up next with Juliet on his arm. She was younger than I expected. Polished. The kind of woman who smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. "Elvis," Roland said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Good to see you." He said it like we were old friends. Like he hadn't spent the last 3 months plotting to steal my home. Jesse was the last to arrive. 40 years of friendship walked through my door carrying a bottle of scotch and a lie. "Merry Christmas, old friend," he said. I smiled, shook his hand. "Merry Christmas, Jesse." Dinner was perfect. Too perfect. Everyone laughed at the right moments, complimented the food, asked me gentle questions about my health, my plans, my comfort level with the future. I played along, nodded, smiled, sipped my wine. Duke sat next to me, coloring on a placemat, unaware that he was sitting at the center of a con. After dessert, Roland cleared his throat. "So, Elvis," he said, too casually, "I was thinking, now that we're all here together, maybe we should talk about some practical things." Janet's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Chris leaned back in his chair, watching. "Practical things?" I asked. "Just, making sure everything's in order. Estate planning, power of attorney, simple stuff." He pulled a folder from his bag, set it on the table like it was nothing. We had Juliet draw up some basic documents. Nothing complicated. Just so, if anything ever happens, we know your wishes are clear. Juliet nodded professionally. "It's standard, Elvis. Every person your age should have these things in place." Janet's voice was soft, almost sad. "Daddy, we've all been worried about you. This is just to protect you. to make sure you're taken care of." Her eyes were wet. Real tears, or close enough. I looked at the folder, at my brother, at my daughter, at Jessie, who wouldn't meet my eyes, and then I smiled. "You know what?" I said. "You're absolutely right." The room exhaled. Roland's shoulders relaxed. Chris actually grinned. Janet blinked away her tears, relief flooding her face. "I'm 69 years old," I continued. "I should have my affairs in order. I should make sure everything's clear." I reached for the folder, pulled it toward me, opened it, and that's when I heard the front door unlock. Marcus Webb walked in carrying a briefcase. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit that made him look like he'd just stepped out of a courtroom, which technically he had. "Good evening, everyone," he said calmly. "I'm Marcus Webb, Mr. Elvis's attorney of record." The room froze. Roland's face went white. "What the hell is this?" "And I believe," Marcus continued, setting his briefcase on the table, "we need to have a very different conversation tonight." Janet stood up slowly. "Dad? What's going on?" I pulled out my phone, set it on the table, hit play. Chris's voice filled the room, tinny but clear. "Christmas. We do it at the Christmas party. Dad signs the papers, Jessie witnesses, and it's done." Janet's voice next. "What if he resists?" "He won't." The recording kept playing. Every word, every plan, every betrayal. Roland tried to grab the phone. Marcus stepped between us. "Don't," Marcus said quietly. The recording ended. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at each of them, one by one. "I've been documenting everything for 6 weeks," I said. My voice was steady, calm. "Every conversation, every email you thought I'd never see, every phone call where you discussed having me declared incompetent while I'm in perfect health." I slid 3 medical reports across the table. 3 doctors. All say I'm cognitively sound, sharp as I've ever been. Roland's jaw clenched. "Elvis, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I turned to him. "You owe me $50,000 from 12 years ago, money I never asked you to repay. But now you see this house is worth $1.2 million, and suddenly you're very interested in my well-being." I looked at Juliet. "And you're his wife, married 6 months ago, representing family members in a case where you have direct financial interest. That's called conflict of interest. The state bar is going to be very interested in your business practices." Her face drained of color. Jessie stood abruptly. "Elvis, I didn't—" "You were supposed to witness the signature," I said coldly. 40 years of friendship. And you sold me out for what? A cut of the house?" He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "Get out," I said. "Elvis? Get out." He left, didn't even grab his coat. I turned to Janet last. She was crying, real crying now, mascara running down her face. "Daddy, I'm so sorry. I didn't. We were just—" "You were going to take my home." My voice finally cracked. "The house where I raised you, where your mother left us and I stayed, where you brought Duke home from the hospital. You were going to erase me. We thought we were helping. You thought I was weak." The words came out louder than I meant. Duke looked up from his coloring, eyes wide. I took a breath, steadied myself. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "Roland, you're paying back the $50,000 with 12 years of interest. Marcus has already filed the lawsuit." Roland's face twisted with rage, but he said nothing. "Juliet, you're withdrawing from this family's business entirely, or your bar complaint goes forward tomorrow morning." She grabbed her purse, left without a word. I looked at Roland. "You need to leave, too." "This is bullshit, Elvis. That money was a gift. Leave, now, or I call the police and show them the recordings where you discuss elder fraud." He stared at me, then grabbed his coat and stormed out. Only Janet, Chris, and Duke remained. Duke had stopped coloring. He was staring at me with big, frightened eyes. Grandpa, are you okay? I knelt down, pulled him close. I'm okay, buddy. I promise. Everything's going to be okay. He hugged me tight. Then his parents took him upstairs to the guest room. When Janet came back down, she and Chris sat on the couch like children waiting for punishment. The house felt enormous, and I had one more conversation to have, the one I'd been dreading most. Everyone was gone except Janet and Chris. The house felt cold despite the Christmas lights, despite the fire in the fireplace, despite everything I'd tried to build here. I poured myself a whiskey, doctor be damned, and sat in the chair across from them. Talk, I said. Chris started first. His voice was shaky, defensive. We're drowning, Elvis. My business failed last year. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. Duke's private school cost $30,000 a year. We have $80,000 in credit card debt. We're about to lose everything. So you decided to take my house. We thought. He stopped, shook his head. Roland said it was the smart thing, that you'd need care eventually anyway, that it was better to plan ahead. And you believed him. I was desperate, Chris said quietly. I am desperate. I looked at Janet. She hadn't said a word yet, just sat there with her hands in her lap, staring at the floor like a guilty child. Look at me, I said. She did. Her eyes were red and swollen. Why? I asked simply. She started crying again. Not the performative tears from earlier, real, ugly sobbing. You had cancer, she whispered. 3 years ago. I sat in that hospital room and watched them pump poison into your veins. I watched you lose weight, lose your hair. I thought I was going to lose you. But I beat it. I know you did. But I couldn't stop being scared. Every time you coughed, every time you seemed tired, I kept thinking, this is it. This is when I lose him. Her voice broke. And then Roland started talking. About planning. About being smart. About how you'd want us to be taken care of. And Chris was panicking about money. And Duke needed things. And I looked at this house, your house, and I thought. She couldn't finish. You thought you could take it before I died, I said flatly. No. She looked up sharply. I thought I could protect you and save us. I convinced myself it was for you, that we'd take care of you, that you'd be safe. But it wasn't for you, was it? She was sobbing harder now. It was for me. It was always for me. I was scared and selfish, and I convinced myself I was being responsible. But I was just taking. The room went quiet except for her crying. Chris looked broken, ashamed, and I felt something I didn't expect. Not rage, not even satisfaction, just tired. Why didn't you just ask me for help? I said finally. Janet's head snapped up. What? You're drowning. You're losing your house. You're terrified. Why didn't you just ask me for help? She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Because you've already given us so much, she said. You paid for my wedding. You covered Duke's hospital bills when he was born. You gave us that loan 3 years ago. Which I wrote off, I interrupted. I never expected you to pay it back. But Chris said you asked about it last Christmas. I asked how business was going, how you were doing. If Chris thought I was asking about money, that's on him. I shook my head. You're my daughter, Janet. My only child. Do you really think I'd watch you lose your home and do nothing? The truth settled between us like something alive. I would have helped you, I said quietly. No questions asked, no strings. I would have helped. But instead, you tried to steal from me. You tried to erase me. Do you understand the difference? She nodded, unable to speak. I took a long drink. Let the whiskey burn. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally. I'm putting this house in a living trust. When I die, naturally, in my own time, years from now, it'll be sold. The money will go into an education fund for Duke. You'll get a portion, but you'll never own this house. That's done. Chris started to protest. I held up my hand. However, Janet's eyes widened. I'm going to lend you $100,000. Interest-free. Enough to save your house and give you breathing room. Dad, no. Let me finish. My voice was firm. The loan agreement Marcus drafts will be real. Legal. You'll pay it back over 10 years. If you default, Duke loses his share of the inheritance. That's the deal. Janet's face crumpled. Why would you do that? After everything? Because you're my daughter, I said simply. And I'm not like you. I don't abandon family when they disappoint me. I don't give up on people I love just because they hurt me. I leaned forward, looked her in the eyes. But make no mistake. If you ever try something like this again, we're done. Completely. And when Duke asks why he doesn't see his grandpa anymore, you'll tell him the truth. You'll tell him what you did. That's the price. Janet crossed the room and fell to her knees in front of my chair. She grabbed my hands like she was praying. I'm sorry, she whispered. God, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. No, I agreed. You don't. I let her cry. Didn't tell her it was okay because it wasn't. But I let her cry, because this is what love looks like when it's been shattered. Messy, painful, and still somehow breathing. Chris joined her on the floor, both of them broken in front of me. And I realized something. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's about choosing who you want to be when people show you who they really are. I chose to be better than them, but I wasn't going to be a fool. Upstairs, Duke was asleep in the guest room. Downstairs, my daughter and her husband were picking up the pieces of the life they almost destroyed. And me? I sat in my chair, the same chair I've sat in for 30 years, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But peace. Tomorrow, Marcus would draft the papers, the trust, the loan, the consequences. Tomorrow, I'd start rebuilding what was broken. But tonight I was still standing in my house, on my terms, and that was enough. This is where everything changes. Not with violence, not with cruelty, but with something so much more powerful. A man choosing grace without weakness, forgiveness without foolishness. But the story isn't over yet. The next chapter shows you what happens. 1 year later, when everything comes full circle in a way you never saw coming. Subscribe now if you believe people can change. Like this video if you believe in second chances that still have consequences. Share with someone who needs to know that being kind doesn't mean being weak. And comment, would you have given Janet the money? Or cut her off completely? Let's finish Elvis's story together. Don't miss the ending that'll restore your faith in family or break it forever. It's Christmas Eve again. I'm 70 now, 70 years on this earth, and I never thought I'd see another Christmas in this house feeling like it was actually mine. But here I am. The decorations are simpler this year. No elaborate garlands. No staged perfection. Just a tree in the corner with lights Duke and I strung together last weekend. Half of them crooked because he insisted on doing the top half himself. It looks perfect to me. Duke arrives first, bursting through the door like a small tornado. Grandpa Duke, look what I made. He's 8 now, taller. Front teeth finally grew back in. He shoves a drawing into my hands. It's us, sitting in my armchair together, both of us smiling. In the corner, he's written in wobbly letters, "My hero." My throat closes up. This is going on the fridge, I manage to say. Right next to the other 17? He laughs. Right next to them. Janet and Chris come in behind him, arms full of groceries. Things are different between us. Careful. Like we're walking on ice that's not quite frozen solid yet. But we're walking. They've made every payment on the loan. Every single one. Chris's new business, a consulting firm, smaller, more manageable, is actually working. He's humble now in a way he wasn't before. Quieter. Last month, Janet sent me a card. No special occasion. Just a card that said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I didn't respond. Some things don't need words. She hugs me at the door, holds on a little longer than usual. "Merry Christmas, Dad." "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." We're getting there. Slowly. But we're getting there. They start cooking dinner. Janet insisted on making everything herself this year. Chris sets the table. Duke helps me pick music for the evening. It feels normal. Not perfect. Not like it was before. But something new. Something earned. And then there's a knock at the door. I'm not expecting anyone else. When I open it, my brother Roland is standing on my porch. I haven't spoken to him in a year. Not since Christmas Eve when everything exploded. The lawsuit was settled 8 months ago. He paid back every cent, plus interest. $67,000 total. It nearly bankrupted him, from what I heard through the family grapevine I'm no longer part of. Now he's standing here in a worn coat, looking 10 years older than he should. "I don't want anything," he says immediately, hands up. "I know I have no right to be here, but can I have 5 minutes? Please." Every instinct tells me to slam the door, but something in his face, something broken and real, makes me step aside. We stand in the entryway. Not the living room, not sitting, because sitting means welcome, and I'm not there yet. He pulls out his phone, shows me a video. It's Juliet, his ex-wife now. "She left me in March," Roland says quietly. "Took half of everything in the divorce. And before she left, she told me the truth. The whole thing. The conservatorship plan. The scheme with your house. It was her idea. She'd done it before. With other families. Other clients." He swipes to another screen. Legal documents. She's facing disbarment now. Criminal charges for elder financial abuse. Multiple counts. Multiple families. I watch the document scroll past. Stay silent. "I'm not telling you this to make excuses," Roland continues. His voice cracks. "I betrayed you. I weaponized your kindness. I helped someone target you because I was bitter and broke and stupid. That's on me. All of it." He looks up. His eyes are red. "But I need you to know that every single night for the past year, I've had to live with what I did. Mom and Dad are gone. You're the only family I have left. And I almost destroyed you for money I've already spent." A tear runs down his face. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm sorry, Elvis. I'm so goddamn sorry. The house is quiet behind me. I can hear Duke laughing in the kitchen, Janet humming while she cooks. I think about Jesse, my best friend who died 8 months ago. Heart attack. His daughter called to tell me. Said he'd talked about me in his final weeks. Asked if I'd come to the funeral. I didn't go. I didn't forgive him while he was alive. Couldn't pretend I did when he was dead. Some betrayals don't get absolution. They just get time. But Roland isn't Jesse." "You were stupid," I say finally. "Greedy. You hurt me in ways I'm still processing. You took 40 years of brotherhood and you sold it for a cut of a house." He nods. Doesn't argue. "But," I continue, and his head snaps up, "you're also the kid who shared a bedroom with me for 15 years, who drove me to my cancer appointments because I was too scared to drive myself, who called me every day during chemo even when I didn't answer." I take a breath. "I'm not ready for you at Christmas dinner. I might not be ready next year either. But I'm willing to have coffee. Once a month, neutral territory. We talk. We see if there's anything left worth saving." Roland's crying now. Really crying. "That's more than I deserve." "Way more," I agree. "But maybe that's the point." He leaves a few minutes later. Doesn't push. Doesn't ask to stay. But before he goes, he puts something on the entry table. It's an old photograph. Him and me as kids, maybe 7 and 9 years old, building a snowman in the front yard of our childhood home. On the back, in his handwriting from this year, "Brothers, no matter what I broke, this was real." I stare at that photo for a long time after he's gone. Janet finds me there. "Was that Uncle Roland?" she asks carefully. Yeah. Are you okay? I look at her, my daughter, who hurt me, who I'm choosing to forgive one day at a time. I'm getting there, I say. She hugs me, and this time I hug her back. Later that night, after dinner, after dishes, after Janet and Chris have gone home, Duke asks if he can stay over. It's Christmas, he says. I want to wake up here with you. Janet looks at me. I nod. So Duke stays. We sit in my armchair together, the famous armchair, the one that's been at the center of everything, and watch the Christmas tree lights twinkle in the dark. Grandpa, he says quietly. Yeah, buddy? Why did everyone stop coming here last year? The question hits me like a punch. I thought he didn't remember, that he was too young, that Christmas Eve explosion was just noise to him. But kids remember everything. Sometimes, I say carefully, adults make mistakes, big ones, and they hurt people they love. Did they hurt you? Yeah, they did. He's quiet for a moment, then, but they came back tonight. Does that mean you forgave them? I think about how to answer this, because the truth is complicated, messy, not the kind of thing you tell an 8-year-old, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe kids deserve complicated truths. I'm trying to, I say finally. Forgiveness isn't like flipping a switch. It's like building something, brick by brick. Some days are easier than others. But you're still trying. Yeah, I'm still trying. He leans his head against my chest. I'm glad. I don't like it when the family isn't together. And just like that, an 8-year-old boy reminds me what this was all really about. Not the house, not the money, not even the betrayal. It was about family, about what we're willing to fight for, about what we're willing to rebuild. Duke, I say, can I tell you something important? Okay. One day, this house will be yours. Well, the money from it will be. It's going into a fund for your education, for your future. He looks up at me confused. Why are you telling me that? Because I want you to understand something. This house isn't just wood and walls. It's all the memories we make here. It's all the Christmases. All the times you fall asleep in this chair. All the times I teach you things. I squeeze him gently. And those things, those can't be stolen, can't be sold. They're yours forever, no matter what. Even after you're gone? He asks, and his voice is so small it breaks my heart. Especially after I'm gone. We sit there in the quiet, the tree lights casting shadows on the walls. This house I almost lost. This family I'm rebuilding. This life I fought to keep. And I realize something. Revenge wasn't destroying them. Revenge was this. Sitting here with my grandson, still in my house, on my terms, having chosen dignity over bitterness, having chosen to be better than the people who hurt me. That's the revenge they'll never recover from, because they'll spend the rest of their lives knowing I gave them grace they didn't deserve, and that grace will haunt them more than any punishment ever could. Grandpa, Duke says sleepily. Yeah? Will this still be your house next Christmas? The same question that started everything. But this time, I know the answer isn't just about property or ownership. It's about what home really means. Yes, I say firmly, this will always be my house, and you'll always be welcome here. He smiles, falls asleep in my arms, and I sit there, a 70-year-old man who survived cancer, betrayal, and heartbreak, holding on to the one thing that matters most. Family. Not the one that tried to destroy me, but the one I'm choosing to rebuild. At 69, a question from my grandson exposed a conspiracy against me. At 70, I learned that the best revenge isn't cruelty. It's refusing to let betrayal turn you into the person who hurt you. It's choosing grace without weakness. It's still being here, still standing, still loving, but never again blindly. They tried to take my house. Instead, I took back my life. And that's a victory they'll never understand. But Duke will, someday. And that's all that matters. This is it. Elvis's complete story, from victim to survivor to a man who chose redemption on his own terms. If this moved you, if you felt every betrayal, every moment of heartbreak, every complicated choice to forgive, then this is your moment. Subscribe to this channel right now. Because stories like this, stories about real people facing real pain and choosing to be better, these are the stories that matter. Like this video if you believe that surviving family betrayal doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger than they ever imagined. Share this with someone who needs to hear that you can forgive people without being a fool, that you can love people without letting them destroy you. And comment below, what would you have done? Would you have given Janet the money? Would you have had coffee with Roland? Your answer tells me everything about who you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting Elvis's story matter, for letting it be heard. More stories like this are coming. Real stories. Powerful stories. Stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. But only if you're subscribed. Hit that button. Turn on notifications. Be part of this community. Because your story matters too. And someday we might tell it. And remember, you're never too old, too hurt, or too betrayed to take back your power. Elvis proved that. Maybe you can too.